This is a Dubai Eye 103.8 podcast. Life Balance on Afternoons with Hellen Farmer.
Sorting out your careers this afternoon. A few weeks ago, we talked about what to do when you lose your job. And Dave McKenzie encouraged you to take some time off and really think about your next step instead of sending out your CV to just about everybody and scrambling to get new employment. Now we are going a step further, talking about reinventing your career, especially if the industry that you're in isn't perhaps going to bounce back anytime soon. Have a listen to this. Take Sarah. She lost her job a few months ago.
I'm in the events industry. So given the current situation of the events and hotel industry, a lot of us events professionals are exploring opportunities where our experience and skills are seen suitable and valuable as well. Could you advise what industries or new roles I can look into, since I'm planning to broaden my job search and not only concentrate on events?
Thank you for that, Sarah. Lots of people just like Sarah, presumably listening in right now. And on the line to help us out on reinventing your career is Shane Phillips. He's the founder of the Phillips Group, an executive search company. Hi, Shane. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Now, as I said, we heard from Sarah there. Lots of people in her situation right now might be in industries that aren't perhaps the healthiest. And we're going to be picking your brains, your top tips for reinventing your career. And I presume a lot of this is mindset, and so much to do with career is identity. I am this. This is who I am. This is what it says to the world. And can you feel like a massive shift to think about yourself in a completely different way?
Yeah, well, I think that's exactly it. I mean, if you've got laid off or you lost your job, I think you should, first of all, congratulations to you, and I think you should celebrate. 80% of people don't like their job, so there's an 80% chance that it's a great thing you've lost it. And
oh, you are king of the silver lining. I love it. I think the same thing about divorce. I'm like, you're leaving an unhappy marriage. This is something that should be celebrated.
I think that was a quick jump there, but yeah, I don't know.
I'll save that for psychology.
But you can definitely see it. You just sit in any office building on the first day of the week as people kind of trudge in, and you can see their heads bowed down. They're not happy. They're dreading going into the office. And then you look at them at the end of the week when they're coming out and they're fully excited. There's a hop in their step as they spring into the weekend. It should be the other way around. You should be in a job that you love. And so we started a website called ownmycareer.com, and we help people walk through this exercise because so many people there's been by the U.S. labor statistics, 30 million jobs lost since March. So there's a lot of people in this situation. And the first thing that we say is that you should take this opportunity to say, oh, this is fantastic. I now have the chance to do something I love. So we walk you through one exercise, which is called the 5x5 Dream Box. And this looks at 5 key areas. And once you fill out this exercise, it will unveil to you what your dream job should be or what job you should be doing if you want. So how do we describe dream job? First of all, is something that will self-actualize you, that you will inherently have a peak performance experience in, because it speaks to your 5 key elements, which are, number 1, your energizing activities. A lot of us are in jobs where we're doing things that de-energize us. So number 1 is your energizing activities. Number 2, we look at your intrinsic motivators. What's really driving you? Number 3, we look at your values. A lot of us work for companies where our personal values don't match the company's values. So, for example, I went to a vegan restaurant and the waiter is not a vegan. He's a meat eater. So why is a meat eater working in a vegan restaurant? You're never really going to enjoy your job. Number 4, what are your core skills? And a lot of us are in roles that don't utilize our top skills. And number 5 is your personality traits. A lot of us are in jobs that don't fully utilize our personality. So you're an introvert, you're being asked to do extroverted things. You're an extrovert being asked to do introverted things. So you walk through those 5 elements: energizing activities, your intrinsic motivators, your values, your skills, your personality traits. When you write all those out, and we do it in a paper that, kind of comes like in a circle, and in the middle, you quickly see that job you had was not a fit for you. And you start to write down roles or positions that fit these 5 elements, you will take off like a rocket. And you can rise to the top of a profession when you have these 5 elements aligned in less than 5 years.
Hang on. You claim you can rise to the top of any profession in 5 years. Why is that? What makes someone who is following this plan or perhaps has a certain goal in mind any better or more efficient, for want of a better phrase, than the rest of the world?
Right. So when you look at the current people, so someone says, hey, I'm a professional, I have 15 years of experience. Well, let's look at those 15 years of experience. What that person really has done in the first 2 or 3 years of their job, they probably learned a lot. And then from, year 4 to year 15, they just repeated the third year, 10 or 12 times. And that gets them up to 15. And you can prove this because 95% of people are professionally illiterate. Professional illiteracy means that you have not read a book about your profession in the last 5 years.
Oh my goodness! Now I'm thinking, I'm like, what have I read recently about broadcasting?
Exactly. You should get on my program. So
I'd like to say I'm very happy in my role. If anyone at ARN is listening, thank you very much.
Yeah. No, I know not to change your role, but you can continue to grow, right, in your current role. And a lot of people are sitting idle because they're not acquiring knowledge about their profession. So if you look at a billionaire, self-made billionaires generally make their billions within 8 years. And they rise to the top within 3 to 5 years. They become multimillionaires, and from year 5 to 8, they're making their billions. So they rise because they follow the 4 keys to promotion, which we have, which what we use is called the 4 keys to promotion, a proven career accelerator. Number 1 is your knowledge acquisition, which we just talked about, your competitor analysis, your reading, your qualifications. Number 2 is your vision and philosophy, which is who will I become and what does it mean when I become that? And number 3 is institutionalizing your success. Number 4 is creating visibility about, if I don't know you, if I haven't heard of you, I can't hire you, I can't promote you. Mm-hmm. And those are the 4 keys: knowledge acquisition, vision, institutionalizing your success, and visibility. And most people are just sitting in their role. They're not actively developing themselves. And this is why you can pass them. If you're on the road and a car's sitting on the side idle, you'll quickly pass it. And that's what's going to happen when you manage your career effectively.
A question from a listener here on 4001, Shane saying, how can I know how to develop my career? I'm an electronic engineer interested in the field of data science. Is data science career having a good future in the UAE? I don't know if you've got specifics on data science, but are you able to talk about some of the industries that we could well see having a strong future?
Well, I think data science is a fantastic industry. It's one that is, just massive, and it's affecting, in every single role, data science is playing such a role now because it's a massively growing field. I know in HR, with all the heads of HR that I work with, they are now creating data science around what are the issues that a new employee has, and then creating a machine learning system based on the data that says, okay, 40% of new employees make this mistake in terms of policies and procedures, and then highlighting that to new staff saying, hey, do you know 41% of new employees make this mistake? So this is a massively growing field. But I think the number one thing that you have to do is get fired up. And what do I mean by fired up? It means you should be so excited by what you do that you can't wait to talk to the top. Who are the top data scientists in the Middle East? Who are the top data scientists in the world? Have you read their books? Have you read their papers? Have you spoken to them? Have you connected with them on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram? Have you sent them a message, write them a letter, send them a postcard from Dubai? It's a very cool city to receive a postcard from. And engage, and stop looking for a job and start to engage with your industry and start to create a dialogue with the other thought leaders about where the industry is going, and really start to get that intellectual curiosity. When you talk to someone...
Sorry, Shane, you also talk about mentors as well, and the importance of having a mentor, especially when you go into a new field. But how can you reach out to someone who might be well established and could be really busy?
Right. Well, generally, if you take, I can't remember that guy, the Japanese American guy. He's a famous scientist. He has 3 best-selling books. You could send him a message and say, hey, I just read your book, XYZ. I love what you said on page 42, and see if he responds. And you might be surprised. He will write back to you. And it never hurts. Getting a mentor is a fantastic thing to do. So if you call someone up or you send them a message or you write them a letter and ask them to be your mentor, maybe there's 60 or 70 or 80% chance they say no. There's a 20% chance they say yes. And there was one individual who was in acting school, and he said, who do you think is the best actor, stage actor? And the teacher said, Robert De Niro. And the guy wrote a letter to Robert De Niro and asked him if he could be his mentor. And Robert De Niro wrote back and said, hey, come by my house, and I'll teach you everything I know. And the guy went there, and after like the 3rd hour, the student's like, Mr. De Niro, like, you're spending so much time with me. I can't, why are you doing this? I mean, everybody must be asking for your time. He's like, you know what? You're the first person who ever asked me to mentor them. And so we never ask because we're too scared. We don't take the jump. And so that's number one. And number 2 is just get excited. I interview people all the time, and they're so flat. There's nothing exciting, really. When you sit down and they're like, just wait for you to ask them questions, and then they give you the bare minimum answer. You should be bursting off your chair like, do you know what's happening right now in my industry? Can I show you 3 amazing things which will revolutionize your company? And whether you're in data science or events, the world is booming. It's still growing. Events moved online if nobody noticed. There's more online events than ever before, and people are willing to pay. So you can totally, reinvent. Do you need to reinvent yourself? No, I think you just need some minor changes. You're going to be flying.
I think for a lot of people it's confidence. I think a really great takeaway there is that creating that thought leadership content about positioning yourself, branding yourself as an expert, and perhaps not holding back. Just being the one to start generating some really fantastic content and go for it. The world's your oyster right now.
Yeah, and I think once you go down the intellectual curiosity road, even if you have a low self-confidence, you kind of defend against that. Because, for example, if I'm studying about HR and selection of executives, and then I meet with the top HR person in the world, well, I could be intimidated to show him how great I am or show her how great I am. But if I'm intellectually curious, then I might say, well, I've been reading all the books about performance analysis, and how come the internal competency matrix that companies use is dramatically different than the psychological markers of peak performance that executive search consultants use? Why is there this gap? I was wondering if you had any insight into that. So now I'm highlighting, gaps in the market, and I'm getting the person's opinion, and I'm consulting them as an oracle, as a mentor, as a thought leader, and I'm sharing information, and getting the job is secondary. It's a byproduct of my curiosity.
I think a message here that I think speaks to a really key point right now for a lot of people. It's just about survival. Saying a message, no name, saying good advice for a career, but many people are not concerned about their ideal career at the moment. They're concerned about their mortgages, their rent, and their personal loans. These are unique times. What would you say to that?
Yeah. So then if you need an immediate job. And this is one of the interesting gaps in the market, and I think this is what the person is pointing out, is that if you say, okay, my dream job is to work at Amazon, for example. Well, actually, Amazon's hiring 100,000 people right now, so maybe they're a bad example. But say it's a company that's not hiring a lot of people. The smaller companies, which you may not know about, is where the immediate jobs are. So like in Dubai, you have a list called the SME 100. These are very successful companies which are, less than 100 people staff. They're not that large. But if those companies win a new project or they get a new piece of business, they're always understaffed.
Yeah, okay. Where can we find that list?
I think you can get it at the Dubai Economic Department website. It'll be listed there. Or if you just Google SME 100, And you could also go to ownmycareer.com, where we have a ton of free resources. We have a free webinar that runs. Our dream is to help 1 million people in 1 month with their career search. So we set up this free webinar, so you can go there and you get all these tips on where's the hidden job. So that's the problem. I think what your listener is asking is like, where can I get a job immediately? Mm-hmm. And it's not online, because these smaller companies, they don't have budgets to advertise, and LinkedIn's getting so expensive to use as an employer. So they go through their personal networks. And so you physically have to call into these companies and ask them, and ask them if they're hiring, ask them what's happening with their companies. Tell them you love their brand. Also be educated on what the company does, and what their product is.
About relationships and confidence. And as I said, confidence is something we are tackling in about an hour's time. Shane Phillips, thank you so much. As you said, Own My Career is where you need to go for those resources to be exploring whether you are doing something that aligns with your values. And I'm wishing everybody all the very best in their current roles, or if they are looking to reinvent or just get something to pay the mortgage. Truly, truly hope everyone is doing all right. Shane, stay well, and we'll talk to you soon.
Life Balance on Afternoons with Hellen Farmer.